We are here today to talk about an important topic, right? Domestic abuse, right? But also the nuance of domestic abuse, especially when age is involved, right? With young people. And so you all are my favorite young folks. And so I invited you, Malachi, and you, Devin, to the table to really have this conversation with me. So I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself. Who are you? And tell the people why it's important to talk about domestic violence.
Yeah, so my name is Malachi Milton Jackson. I go to the University of St. Thomas. I'm a mechanical engineering major as well as a football player. And why it's important to talk about domestic violence, I mean, I firmly believe it's an utter disrespect to women. It doesn't just happen to women, but more so you see it happening to women. So I believe it to be an utter disrespect, and it's just something we need to talk about because women don't get a lot of respect in this world. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Devin, currently a new member at the YWCA team. And I personally think domestic violence is an important topic to talk about because it affects the lives of just more than the people going through it. It has an effect on your family, friends, and it's not something people like to talk about because they feel like those are feelings that should be put internally or they can get through it themselves.
Right. So I know y'all are on social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and so a lot of what we're learning, what we're ingesting is on social media. So I just want to talk about real briefly, like what are some of the messages that you all are seeing on social media about young people and domestic violence?
Yeah, so what's crazy is I don't actually see a lot about domestic violence. It's like on my way over here, I was thinking like, where have I seen domestic violence?
Or like even unhealthy relationships, right?
Yeah, so unhealthy relationships I see where like domestic violence can be taken, like mental, emotional, verbal abuse, not exact. I don't see a lot of physical, which I'm glad because that's just crazy. But, excuse me. But yeah, no, I don't see a lot of it. It kind of just, no, I'm not saying that I don't think about it, but like it kind of just, it's kind of faded.
Right.
I feel like, and
That's an important thing.
And then on social media, like I don't see a lot. I can see how messages can be taken, but I really don't see a lot about domestic violence on social media, at least where I am at. So.
I agree with that. I agree, and I more so see the negative sides of domestic violence, where you got like a lot of people getting into arguments with their girls, or they got people looking for them because they have something going on, and you have people that just post stuff that goes to like verbal. And it's like people will say things that are purposely trying to get underneath someone else's skin.
Right.
Yeah.
So you mostly see images around like verbal abuse in young people on social media, right? And I believe that, like you don't see necessarily the hitting and the fighting because that probably isn't being filmed, but you see the other aspects of domestic violence, which is the verbal or mental abuse that happens in relationships. And we know that the physical is happening. We actually, the statistic I looked up is like 1 out of 4 women are like physically abused, right? And 1 out of 9 men, right? Or people who identify as men are being physically abused. So why do you think that is, that you see the mental abuse, but you don't necessarily see the physical abuse? And has like the definition of domestic violence, like have you been maybe desensitized to it, like it, or it's been normalized so much?
Yeah, so because the first thing I think when I hear domestic violence is the physical. I don't think of like the verbal, emotional, mental. I don't think about that. But it's like I feel like it's more prevalent as to today just because of social media and how easy it is to spread rumors around and stuff like that, get underneath people's skin. Like,
do you think it's become normalized?
Oh.
Yeah. Because I think we hear about it from like about our grandparents or our parents, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of young people, because they've seen these messages of like, oh, she just hit him. It's not domestic abuse. It's just she just hit him, or he just hit her because she was acting up, or she said something slick, right? Is that normal?
I wouldn't say that's normal, but I feel like there's a lot of signs where you can see domestic abuse, like the other side of it, like the verbal, mental, all that. But I feel like you see more of it in like, let's say like a couple is just chilling, and let's say the guy or the girls, one of them says something out of pocket that gets under the skin of their partner, and they give them a look, and they just kind of sit back. Yeah, so like that I believe has been normalized, but I don't see it as often as I think people probably do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wouldn't say it's been normalized. I will say, or in my opinion, I feel like people will take it more as a joking thing, and not it being serious. And then you do have to look for the signs, like he said, of just like them being like, cowarding away, not really wanting to be in that confrontation. And then the first part of your question.
Has it like been normalized and like from the messages that we see on social media?
Yeah. Oh no, because I was tying that in. No, it's not normal, but it's definitely like people try to brush it off and act like it's not as a big a situation as it needs to be. But when it comes down to it, they only care about the situation after the fact. Like after the situation's been played out, that's when people want to look at it and then feel some kind of way. But they take it as, oh, they're just playing around, when it's not that.
So until it becomes something big, people don't typically pay attention to it. They kind of just say it as a joke, or that's just how they are, right? But when we start seeing like the physical stuff, then that's when it becomes a problem. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think what he's saying is that like I said, like how I said, like the verbal, the mental, like I automatically go to physical. It's because I'm not thinking about that. It just like how people, like it goes to the back of people's minds, because I feel like more so that's not tied in with your domestic abuse. But I mean, because when I hear domestic, I automatically think physical. If it was like relationship abuse or something like that, I would probably think more verbal, mental, emotional, more so than physical.
Yeah. So, I think that's a powerful thought, right? And I think it's important for young people that may be watching this, right, to hear it's more than just the mental, like the mental and the emotional abuse oftentimes leads to the physical abuse, right? Or you see those things first before you see the physical part. Because although we have access to all this information and cameras are everywhere, right, we don't catch it, right, oftentimes soon enough. But I want to end with a conversation really about what are some of the messages you all can send to your peers? You all are Black men, right? And we know that you all have influence, right? You're on social media, you're out here in community. What can you tell your peers about domestic abuse, right? Domestic violence. And what are some of the advice you want to give to those maybe abusing or maybe those in those situations?
Yeah, so if you have something to start, I'm still on the other one.
My first one would be communicate to the abuser or to the one being abused. Communicate what you're going through, because they're both for me a mental, there's something making that person want to abuse the other person, and there's something, or the person being abused is going through something off rip. So I feel like they both need to be able to communicate openly what they're going through and what made them feel a certain kind of way. And then if that doesn't work, I think the next step would be for either person to really not isolate themselves, but it gives them some time away from just that situation in general. If you have somewhere else you can go to be safe and in comfort, you need to be in that place immediately so you can have time to sit there and think about what you need to do to be out that situation.
So what you think?
Yeah.
What can you tell the people?
What can I tell the people after Really good suggestion there. Honestly, I think the only thing I could really say is just like, yeah, like communicate. Like people don't. I feel like people are so scared to like talk about like really anything nowadays. Like I feel like genuine conversations have just dwindled down because people are scared to just open up and like trust in one another. But yeah, just communicate because there's power in words rather than actions. I mean, there's power in actions, but in certain times. But words, I feel like hold more power in situations like that. Yeah, and just stop disrespecting. Like, please, like, why can't we just love each other?
Right.
Like, I would love to have a world where we just like where we don't have to talk about stuff like this.
Right.
I would love a world like that. So just communicate and love one another. It's not that hard.
Right.
So.
Right. Y'all, I appreciate y'all for like joining in this conversation. It's not easy, right? These are heavy topics, but I think it's so powerful to see two Black men, right? Oftentimes Black men get pegged as the aggressor, the abuser, that kind of thing, right? And for you all to, one, voice your opinion, your thoughts on this topic, but also to assert yourself and say, like, we're not with it and we need to change. So thank you for taking your time to speak with me, for sure. And that's it. That's it.